Okay, so let's take a look at how you can draw violin plot using Seaborn library in Python. So first thing, we will open terminal and make sure to check Python version to confirm we have Python. So Python _ version should show you the Python version. Next thing, use pip install Seaborn, right? Once Seaborn is installed, next thing we can do is type in Jupyter-lab, right? Once we also have that installed, we are good to go, right? So we have like Jupyter-lab. We can run this. Now what will happen is it will open one window where it will load Jupyter-lab, and we can open the notebook, right? So if I click on this, it should open the new notebook, right? Now here you can import few of the libraries. Say import random, then import Seaborn as sns, and import numpy as np, right? So once we have all of that, I can go to np random and random state, right? Next thing, variable equals to rng dot normal, so say 0.2 and size of 50. We have variable. You can also have random seed 1, right? So next thing, we'll have a group with random choices, and within the square bracket I can have g1, then g2, right, and g3 as my choices. Outside this, we can also set the value for k equals to 50, closing the bracket. Next thing, I can do the same for group 2, where I have random dot choices, and then I have like a and b values, right, and then k set to 50, right? So we have like these values set. I can also create data frame, and within curly bracket and single quote, I'm going to add variable, assign variable to it, then I can do same for group, comma, and finally within single quote group 2, and then group 2, right? Everything is assigned and changed. The thing is, I will have to move to our violin plot. For that, we make use of sns. Then from that, we call violin plot function. And let's see if I pass x and then variable assigned to it. If I run this, let's try and see what comes out. So let's try and come here and check random np.random.random state. So s should be uppercase. Now let's run this. We have our violin plot. So this is the most basic one. The assigning data parameter to df would also result in same, right? Notice that it will tell you the enable type, numpy, and array. So it seems like I will have to use variable and then assign the data frame to it. Now if I want to change the orientation of this violin plot, I can simply use y set to variable, and the orientation will change, right? So what we have done, we have created basic plot, we also changed its orientation. Similarly, I can have color, I can set dark sea green as its color. As you can see, we managed to change the violin plot color. Right now, the thing is, the tails part, if you want to trim them, you can do so by using cut set to 0. If there are any large trailing areas within your data, it will cut them to something like this. Right now, there are a few things that we can do. One being, we can draw inner figures with various property values. Also, we can plot by group, and finally we will take a look at the color scheme for violin plot. Right, so what we can do right now is we can remove the color and trail cut and simply use inner parameter, and here I can change to quantile. Run this, and sorry, should be quartile, and run, and it will tell you the inner figure quartiles. Right, there is also variable called point that you can assign, and it will look something like this. There are also two more properties that we can change to this parameter, which is stick and none. So if I change this to stick, run this, it should show you something like this. Similarly, there is one more property which is none. So let's try and see. Okay, so the first N should be uppercase. So let's see what caused the error. None is not recognized. So it seems like quart, box, stick and point. So quart we have used, stick and point we also used. There is box. So instead of none, let's try box. So if we run this, we get the box property for inner figure. So these are some of the properties that we can try with our parameter here, inner figure parameter. Right, then there are plot by group option that you can try, which is, so let's say if I set X for group and Y for variable, so it will change the orientation as well. Right, and notice that we have orderly values slightly changed with G3 in between. We can later change the order as well manually. Right, we can also change this parameter hue and set group 2 for it. Let's see what changes our output. So G1, G3, G2, and we have Y set to variable. Right, then we can also set this dodge argument. Right, so dodge set to false. If we run this, it will look something like this. Then there is alternate to dodge, which is split. Right, so split set to true. If we run this, it will look something like this. Right, now if we use hue and dodge, you can also use palette. Right, so if we use palette and say set 1 as its value, then comma here, right, if we run this, it will show you the change in color and no error this time because we used hue and dodge along with palette, so it tends to not throw the error. Right, we can also change this to blues and see the output if it exists. Okay, so blues exist, and there is finally one more which is popular, is magma. Right, so if we run this, we get magma value as well. So we are experiment with some of these palette arguments. Right, so there's one more left which is YLGN. Right, if we run this, we will get that value within palette as well. So we managed to draw the basic violin plot. Then there is the vertical orientation, then change of color, then you can trim the trail, also change some of the properties of inner figure parameter, then also draw the plot by groups, and finally you can adjust the palette arguments. Right, so these are some of the things that you can do with violin plot. Right, you can experiment with xt quatic value, then there is also change in legend colors, and you can also see if you can use, let's say, gradient colors.